أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم عالمين وصلى الله على خير خلقه أجمعين محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرض أجل الله تعالى فرجه بأبي أنت وأمي يا أبا عبد الله أشهد لقد اقشعرت بدمائكم أظلة العرش مع أظلة الخلائق وبكتكم السماء والأرض وسكان البر والبحر لبيك داعي الله لبيك إن كان لم يجبك بدني عند استغاثتك ولساني عند استنصارك فقد أجابك سمعي وبصري قلبي وسمعي وبصري سبحان إن كان وعد ربنا لمفعولا ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. قال الله عز وجل في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنني أنا الله لا إله إلا أنا فاعبدني وأقم الصلاة لذكري آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم وبلغ رسوله الكريم وصدق مولانا أمير المؤمنين ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. First and foremost, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the opportunity to gather on these auspicious nights of Muharram, though online. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to get rid of this pandemic, for it is the one disturbing our majalis and our attendance in the mosques and all that. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy for us to gather again, inshallah ta'ala. And secondly, we send condolences to the Imam of our time, al-Imam al-Mahdi, al-Muhammad, Abdullah ta'ala, Farajahu Sharif, and to our esteemed scholars and to the Ummah at large on this great calamity, raziyatan ma a'zamaha wa a'zama raziyata fil Islam. At this great calamity, none is greater than, and a calamity greater than any other in Islam. Tonight, as promised, inshallah, the topic is how the Imam prayed, how Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam prayed. Now, this narration, inshallah, it is narrated from Hammad ibn Isa. It's narrated from Hammad ibn Isa, in which book? Mustadrak Wasael al-Shi'a, Kitab al-Salaah, Abwab Af'al al-Salah. So Wasail al-Shi'a, inshallah, Wasael al-Shi'a is a book, 20 volume. If you can afford it, please buy it for me. My birthday is on the 14th of December. Wasael al-Shi'a is a book written by Shahid Thani al-Hurr al-Ameli, whereby he collects ahadith, but he collects them in a way to prove the jurisprudential rulings. That is, if you have Wasail al-Shi'a, all 20 volumes, and then you read in the Risala Amaliya, like the one that I have here of Ayatollah al-Mudarrisi, the laws of Islam, and he says, for example, such a deed is recommended in Salaah, such a deed is recommended on such a day. Wasail al-Shi'a has the ahadith that can help you understand this, where it's sort of like a discussion whereby he gathers, Hurr al-Ameli gathers all the ahadith that he deems as working sahih, that or viable or reliable. Yeah, reliable is the word I was looking for. Which he deems as reliable, and then he gathers them into this book, and then he explains the ruling, or he explains how a ruling can be derived from those. Very interesting book to have. It's one of the books that while I was in Iraq I wanted to buy. Unfortunately, luggage limits and these other limits, so I couldn't buy the book. So that is Wasail al-Shi'a. That is where this hadith, 1.5 pages, about Imam al-Sadiq, how he performed his prayers, narrated from Hammad ibn Isa. But before that, because last night's lecture, some were not present, and it's only the Musibah of Abu al-Fadl Abbas got recorded. Just a quick recap of yesterday. Yesterday, we were talking about the attitude towards and about Salah. And we said that in the very verse that we know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ, for those who attended, forgive me for repeating, but inna dhikra tanfa'ul mu'min. Repeat, always make the argument that 26 times in Surah Ar-Rahman you say فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. So remembrance or repetition benefits the believer. وَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ, Wail is a valley in hell, but the people who perform prayers deserve hell. How can people who pray deserve hell? How do they deserve to be in that valley that is in Jahannam? The following ayah answers: الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِ الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ. الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ, not فِي صَلَاتِ. Those who are negligent about their prayers, they are, sahu, they are just playful and whatnot about their prayers. That's why some people live in the mosque, basically. They're always praying and so on and so forth. But there's no nur. They don't have nur on their faces. Then we went to the verses, just a quick recap, to the verses in Surah al-Ma'arij and in Surah al-Mu'minun. Surah al-Mu'minun, in the beginning it says, it describes the believers. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. The believers are successful. Falah is not only a success like that, it's also a joy. You succeed in something and you rejoice for it. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Who are these believers? الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. Those who are in their prayers humble. Surah al-Ma'arij, what does it say? وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَلَى صَلَاتِهِمْ دَائِمُونَ. Says that those who are consistent, who are repetitive, who are regular, who are frequent, who are consistent in their prayers. And then both the chapters, that one is Surah al-Mu'min, Khash'un is Surah al-Mu'min, verse number 2. And then this one is Surah al-Ma'arij, verse number 23. Later in both the chapters, this one in Surah al-Mu'minun, verse number 9, this one in verse number 34, they both say, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَلَى صَلَاتِهِمْ يُحَافِظُونَ. Those who are protective of their prayers. And we said that this is حافظوا على الصلاة, as the verse in, I'm adding this, as the verse in Surah Al-Baqarah says, حافظوا على الصلاة والصلاة الوسطى. Be protective of your prayers and the middle prayer. وقوموا لله قانتين. The middle prayer, we can have another discussion about that. It's something else. وقوموا لله قانتين, and stand to Allah in obeisance and asking Him. Qunut, qanitin. That's the argument you can use when somebody says qunut should not be done in prayers. It says قوموا لله قانتين. Surah Al-Baqarah. All right. So, protecting the prayers, we said that it is praying on time, praying as you should pray, trying by all means to pray in congregation, jama'ah, praying with concentration, trying to pray your prayer the best way possible. The best way possible. That is وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَلَى صَلَاتِهِمْ يُحَافِظُونَ. That is a recap of last night, inshallah ta'ala. Tonight, we're talking about how, because I mentioned that hadith whereby one person was drinking water and they said Assalamu alayka ya Abu Abdullah, and Imam was praying and he said, let us exchange the reward. You take the reward of my prayers. Imagine the prayer of an Imam. And he says, let us exchange the prayer of an Imam. Let us exchange just the reward of you saying Assalamu alayka ya Abu Abdullah after drinking water. Let us exchange it. You take my reward of the prayers. So this is how the Imam prayed. Hammad ibn Isa narrates, one day Abu Abdullah al-Hussein asked, do you pray well, O Hammad? This is a very interesting question that the Imam asked. You know, just like Imam al-Hussein and Imam al-Hassan, alayhim as-salam, they taught that old man how to make wudu by sort of making it a question, making it a query. You know, that's the best way to teach people, by first picking their brains before just telling them that no, it's like this. You know, so the Imam, they first picked that old man's brains and then they showed him how to do wudu. So the Imam is following. The eyebrows. Should I change? Now, that is how they teach as well. So the Imam saying, do you pray well? This is also a way to teach somebody. So Hammad answered, my master, I have in my keeping a valuable book on prayer. So the Imam said, stand up and pray. Hammad then prayed, faced the Qibla, began to pray, bow, prostration, and completed his prayer. The Imam said, oh Hammad, subhanAllah, you don't know how to pray well. It is a shame that a man should have, subhanAllah. This is why it's so important. You know, it's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that even from my fellow scholars, unfortunately, very unfortunate that even from my fellow scholars and imams of mosques and imams of centers, that there is not so much emphasis on the fiqh of praying. Yes, there's madrasa for the children, fine, the children are already Muslim, you're teaching them, they're going to pray. What about the adults who become Muslim? What about the adults who've been Muslim but do not know their jurisprudential rulings and they make mistakes? Is this not in your dhimma? Will you not be questioned about this? You're the Imam of a mosque. You don't have classes. You don't facilitate. Okay, fine, you are not in the locality all the time. Facilitate, at least make sure that there's somebody who's teaching. At least play that role. Unfortunately, fiqh is being downplayed. In one argument that I had with someone, I told him that no, it's much more important to teach people fiqh. They learn, in South Africa, most of us, we always debate about religion, we always talk about religions. So when somebody eventually, this was my argument, when somebody does eventually become Muslim, it is after research and arguing and discussing. So what do they need more? They need fiqh, so that they can be, so that their actions can be correct. Obviously, my brother, my respected Sheikh Ali Nchinyane, said in one camp that we had that people enter religion through different doors. Some are attracted by the spirituality, some by the discipline, some by this, some by that. That is true. And then, should somebody be attracted by spirituality as the Imam of a scholar, you should entice them via spirituality, make them fall into Islam even more, in love with Islam even more via spirituality. That's true. If they come in through discipline, show them how disciplined Islam is. If they come through, learning that Islam permits polygamy, Habibi, get them 4 wives. That's not love. But that's the thing. Whatever that they come into Islam through, give it to them. But it is very important that whatever you give them, whatever attracts them to Islam, you should give it to them with fiqh, with jurisprudence. You'll hear what the Imam says for Hammad next. It's very important that you give it to them with jurisprudence, so that tomorrow when they do venture into spirituality is your fiqh is your foundation for spirituality. You build upon it. You can't build a roof without the foundation. Even a lapa that only has a roof and some pillars around it, not even some pillars, some sticks around it holding up the roof, it also has a strong foundation to hold up the roof. If you want to make that argument that no, a lapa can be built a roof first, or it's just the roof, it has a strong foundation. So whatever, if they are attracted by spirituality, we teach them fiqh with spirituality. If they are attracted by discipline, teach them fiqh even more, so that they see how disciplined Islam is. If they are attracted by literature, give them literature with fiqh. If they are attracted by, give it to them. That is most important. Because unfortunately, you see in many cases people making mistakes when it comes to fiqh, in their prayers, in all of that. When it comes to fiqh, they make all these mistakes, whereas there's an Imam in their locality who's supposed to teach them, who doesn't. So, brothers and sisters, me not being, I was criticized for saying specialist, but me being somebody who admires fiqh, and me being somebody who is drawn by fiqh and loves fiqh, and who has studied several books of different maraja on fiqh, I'm not just saying this because I want people to follow my path and be fuqaha or be deep in fiqh and neglect everything else. No. The verse in the Quran says, لِيَتَفَقَّهُ فِي دِينِ. لِيَتَفَقَّهُ فِي دِينِ, of course, it means deep understanding. It means deep understanding, but deep understanding of fiqh, of course, the first deep understanding that people need is the basis, halal and haram. In fact, deen in Arabic means jaza wa aqab, reward and punishment. At least teach them that. Let them know, if you do this, this is the punishment. If you do this, this is the reward. Do this, it's permissible. Do this, it's not permissible. That's it. Once you know that, your life becomes easy. Fiqh draws the boundary for you, and then you can do anything within the boundary. That's it. It's like a sports center. It has that sports field. And in that sports field, one place has shot put, one place has the track, one place has the long jump, the high jump, and all of that. They're all within the sports field, which is fiqh, jurisprudence. Okay. Sallu ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. Maybe I've gone too far with that. I got too passionate a little. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Imam says, oh Hammad, you don't know how to pray well. It is a shame that a man should have spent 60 or 70 years in this world without offering a single perfect prayer. Feeling embarrassed, Hammad said, may I be your ransom? Look, Hammad is now 60 to 70 years old. He didn't perform a correct prayer. Some of us were almost 30, beyond 30, almost 50 and whatnot. Prayers. What about the perfect fast? It's very important that we learn how to. Teach me how to pray, Hammad said. So Abu Abdullah stood up straight, facing the Qibla, placed both his arms upon his thighs, with his fingers closed, and brought his feet together until they were only a distance of 3 spread fingers apart. So this tells you now when you pray, don't stand. We see in certain mosques how people stand with, like, they're about to. So stand in a normal way. Stand in a normal way such that you don't look like you're taking too much space. Also, don't stand with your feet too close to each other such that if someone pushes you over, you may fall. His feet pointed forward without turning aside from the Qibla. Okay, that's difficult because there are some people whose feet are like that. He stood perfectly still in awe. This line is so important. You see, whenever they describe the Salaah of Imam Zayn al-Abidin, alayhi afdalu salatu wassalam, they say that whenever he would pray, he would stand so still that nothing of him would move except what the wind moves. Except what the wind moves. SubhanAllah. That's how still he would stand. Aruna you, Allahu Akbar. Ish. Then he said Allahu Akbar, then recited Surah Al-Hamd with clear enunciation. Enunciation in Arabic is tajweed. This is something very important. I remember also again, our respected scholar Sh Nchinyane said the same thing. He says that reciting Qur'an is wajib. With tajweed, it's wajib. Obviously, not like Abdul Basit or the Sheikh Amir al-Kadhimi, who I played before the lecture, no. But with proper enunciation, pronouncing the words the way Arabs pronounce them correctly. But if you downplay fiqh, of course, it won't be important to you. And then he recited Qul Huwallahu Ahad, Surah Al-Ikhlas. Then he paused for a breath while standing before saying Allahu Akbar while standing. This, I can't find any other word to describe what I've narrated so far except awesome. When you study fiqh, you learn that there's something called al-Qiyam al-Muttasil bir ruku'. That before ruku', there has to be a pause. After reciting, there has to be a pause. You don't just say, wala dhalin Allah. No. You have to pause a little. Wala dhalin. Take a breath and then Allahu Akbar. Don't rush in your prayer. What did the Holy Prophet say, sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Though it's concerning sajda, says that do not make your sajda like a pecking chicken. Then he bowed and cupped his palms over his knees with their fingers spread out. So that's how we do proper ruku'. If this is your knee, not like that, but like this. That's how you. Okay, it gets it. So if this is your knee here, don't over the knee with your hands, with your fingers spread out. That is the recommended way, of course. And he pushed his knees back until his back was level. So what does this mean? Even in your ruku', you don't bend your knees. Yes, you cup your fingers, you spread them out over your knees, but you don't bend your knees upright until his back was level, such that if you were to pour a drop of oil upon him, it would not roll off because of how level his back was. So that is the correct way to do ruku'. When you do ruku', you don't bend. You are here. 90 degrees soldier. Right here. Such that if you pour a drop here, it would not go this way or this way. He stretched out stretched out his neck and closed his eyes before repeating Subhanallah 3 times with clarity and fluency, and then said, Subhana Rabbi al-Azim wa bihamd. So that's the recommended way. Subhanallah 3 times, then Subhana Rabbi al-Azim wa bihamd. The recommendation, if while standing in that way, is that your eyes look between your toes. So obviously, maybe from where Hammad stood, it looked like he closed his eyes. When in ruku, it's recommended that you look between your big toes. Right in between them, you look there. Then he rose. And when he was still, he said, Sami Allahu liman hamida. So not while you are moving, Sami Allah. No. You first stand, Sami Allah. Okay, no. He rose when he's still, and then he said, Sami Allahu liman hamida. It's the only dhikr that you can say while in No, you say it while standing. You stand and then you say Sami Allahu liman hamida. The adhkar of prayer, you do not say them in movement. You make the movement and then you say them. Or you say them and then make the movement. So for ruku', you don't say Allahu Akbar. You say Allahu Akbar and then you do the ruku'. You do the takbir, then the ruku'. Not the other while the other. And then he pronounced takbir, Allahu Akbar, raising his hands to either side of his face. Then he prostrated, placing his hands on the ground with the fingers together. Like so. This is how you do in sajda. Not like this. While his elbows were aligned with either side of his face. Though for men, it's recommended to raise your elbows and not place them on the ground. For ladies, it is recommended to place your elbows on the ground. And said, Subhana Rabbi al-A'la wa bihamdi 3 times. And he did not put any part of his body on other parts. He prostrated on 8 points of his body. Should be 7. His forehead, his 2 palms, his knees, and the big toes of each foot. These are the parts when somebody is deceased after doing the ghusl and before or after dressing them in the kafan, you place camphor on them. The forehead, the palms. Speaking about, let me just mention them before narrating this narration that I just remembered. The palms, the knees, and the big toes. These are recommended. Obviously, these are wajib to do tahneet, hunut on. For ladies, you add the elbows. Recommendation. Speaking about the palms, maybe that's my Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. No. Imam Taqi al-Jawad alayhi salam. When he was 9, he became the Imam, right? When Imam Rida alayhi salam was martyred. So they tried to test his question. They say, how can a boy be our Imam? How can a boy be our Imam? So they tried to test his question. He tested them with one question. One of the questions that he tested them is, when somebody steals, what do you cut off? Do you cut off the fingers? Do you cut off the whole, do you cut from the wrist? Do you cut from the elbow? Do you cut from the shoulder? Well, the story is long, but short, the Imam said you only cut off the fingers. Why? He quoted the verse, أَنَّ الْمَسَاجِدَ لِلَّهِ from Surah Al-Jinn. أَنَّ مَسَاجِدَ لِلَّهِ فَلَا تَدْعُوا مَعَ اللَّهِ أَحَدًا. Because the masajid, the mosques, or the positions of sajda are for Allah. So do not associate anyone with Allah. So this is part of sajda. Beautiful story that you can read about, inshallah. So it should be 7, not 8. Then he raised his head from prostration, and when he was sitting up straight, he said, Allahu Akbar. Also, again, not in motion. Not in motion. You sit up first, and then you say, Allahu Akbar. resting his weight on his left side. It's called tawarruk. It's quite difficult. That it's recommended though that when in prayer, most of your weight should be on when sitting between the sajda, or for tashahhud and salam, that most of your weight be on your left thigh. It's called tawarruk. Placing the top of his right foot over the bottom of his left foot. Then he said, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah wa atubu. So also no rush, no hurry. Don't hurry in your prayers. Because this is also one way that helps. That if you want to rush in your prayers, it makes them lose something. If you are relaxed in your prayers, you also feel the muriane. Today, rapid. Today, you feel that they are no. It's in. Then he said, Astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayh. Then he said the takbir while sitting and prostrated again. So takbir before going into sajda, not just or not while. And repeated what he said in the first prostration. And he did not rest any of his part of his body on anything else while bowing or prostrating. I wonder when this hadith was narrated, because Imam, he's called Shaykh al-A'imma. He's the oldest Imam to have lived. Being the oldest Imam to have lived, 65 years of age. I wonder when he narrated this, because if he narrated this when he was old, then it shows that we should try by all means that even in our elderly ages, that we don't need support or a chair for our prayers. Inshallah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for long life, and we ask him for good health and strength even when we are older, inshallah. And he allowed his elbows to point out sideways. He did not rest his so in the sajda, as it's recommended for men to raise. It's called tajafi, to raise their elbows. For women, it's the opposite. It's recommended for them to place their. It's an argument of hijab. They say that it's a way to hide. Another discussion that we can go into another day. He prayed 2 units like this. Then he sat in tashahhud with his fingers jointed on the thighs in tashahhud. So when you sit in tashahhud, you don't place your hands on your knees like that. You don't put them like that on your thighs. Close them like so. And he finished the tashahhud. He said the taslim. Then he said, "Oh Hammad, pray like this. Do not turn from side to side or play with your hands or fingers. And do not sit on your left or right or in front of you." This is awesome, again, as I mentioned. There's no, the way we describe the prayer of the Imam, it's so beautiful. When you read this, you feel this prayer. This is a prayer that Allah can accept. Do not turn side to side. You stop when you are praying, looking up and down, looking there, looking there. Again, there are recommended ways. There are recommended places to look in prayer, where your eyes should be in prayer. Or play with your hands and fingers. Some people in ruku, their toes. Or try by all means, or when in prayer, that you don't fiddle. As I said the other time, speaking about concentration in prayer, that place is called the mihrab. It's a place where you fight. Oh, as Sayyid Hadi said, when standing there, say, Ya shaitan, inni usalli. Oh, devil, verily I am praying. Do not disturb me. Then try to pray your prayer as described. For those who do have Facebook, It's on page 162, 163, 164. Just read it frequently to remind yourself. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, saw a young man in the mosque. The young man came and, he prayed. And imagine the Holy Prophet saying something like, it was better for this boy not to even pray. I'm paraphrasing, of course. And this prayer, why? Because this person, first of all, in the ruku, you don't even settle. You go into ruku, you settle. Then you start with the dhikr. Not, subhanallah, it's very important that in the ruku, you settle. So this boy did that, and what he's like, what is this? This is, as I heard one of my Sheikh Noor al-Khafaji said that Imam al-Khomeini said this. Says that no, that's just a picture. That's just an image of prayer. It's just yoga. It's just exercise. There's nothing there. No spirituality there. Nothing. No connection there. The sajda. That's why the Holy Prophet said, "Do not pray like the chicken pecks." Anaqril ghurab. Don't pray like the pecking of a crow. So this is how the Imam prayed, and this is how we should also try to pray. These are the sages. These are the Imams. Follow in their footsteps. We should do what they did. Try to emulate them. Try to be like them. Maybe we'll never reach their level, but at least do something. This hadith speaking about Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, one of the four Imams of the Sunnis, he says that I never saw Ja'far as-Sadiq except in 3 states. Except in 3 states. Let me do this. In 3 states. Reading Qur'an, praying, or fasting. You can't reach the level of the Imam, but at least find one attribute of each Imam that you emulate and stick to and live by it. If the Imam was always fasting, try that, okay, maybe you are strong and can and are healthy. That every time when you're not traveling, try to always be fasting. When you're not occupied, try to always be praying, reciting Qur'an, something like that. Try to always be busy with. This is an attribute of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Imam al-Kadhim, Sahib al-Sajdat al-Tawila, the one who used to do long prostrations. Try to find something to emulate in them. Try to find something to emulate in them and live by it. Talking about the emulation of the Imams, tonight being the 8th night of Muharram, we remember the young son of al-Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, Qasim. In some cultures, today they make sort of like this saying that he was young and his mother would have wished for him to marry and stuff. But Al-Qasim alayhi salam, after all the many of the martyrs have not been martyred, those who are fighting for Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, it said that he was 10, 11 years old. He goes to his mother, says, "Mother, now is the time." The mother gives him the armor to wear. Ruhi lahu fillah. He wears the armor. Which armor? The armor of Imam al-Hasan. He wears the armor of Imam al-Hasan and he goes to Imam al-Hussein. He says, "Oh, uncle, I also need to go and fight." Imam says, "But Qasim, you told you, please, you are the remnant of my brother al-Hasan. Go back. Please, I can't permit you to go fight." Al-Qasim goes back to his mother. His mother hands him a letter. takes the letter to Imam al-Hussein. Imam al-Hussein opens the letter. Oh, Aba Abdullah, when the time comes and my son approaches you and he wants to fight in your defense, I will not be there. So, Ya Aba Abdullah, permit him to fight in your defense. 10 to 11 years old, and he's so valiant and he's so brave. And we do such for the Imam of our time. Forget that he's from Ahlul Bayt. He was just, as in our words, just a boy, 10 to 11 years old. And he has this heart. He has this heart. Imam al-Hussein says, I do not like, I despise seeing you to go out. I despise seeing you go out and fight, oh remnant of my brother. But if these are the wishes of my brother, if this is the letter that my brother left for me, or Qasim, then I will let you go. Al-Qasim, young boy, goes out to fight from Bani Hashim, trained by Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. He goes out and he strikes severely and fights them. They underestimate him. He tells them, do you know who I am? I'm the son of Hassan ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. He fights them so valiantly. Thirsty as he is, he fights them so valiantly, such that they run away from Al-Qasim. This is in history. It is recorded in history. And it's quite interesting that the records of Ashura, the records of Muharram, the records of Karbala, most of them are from people from the other camp. Yes, it was saved, the whole saga was saved and maintained by Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam and Lady Zainab alayhi salam. But most of the narrators who confirm what Zainab say, who confirm what Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam say, from the other camp, the camp of Umar bin Sa'ad, Jumr, basically the soldiers of Yazid. They say that we could not fight this boy. Now, unfortunately, while fighting, the slipper of Al-Qasim broke. His sandal broke, and I take this as a point of valor. I take this as bravery and mockery for the opposition. In the middle of the battlefield, this 10 to 11-year-old boy stands on one knee and tries to fix his sandal. But what do these cowards do? Cowards really they are. What do these cowards do in that state? You said he's a boy. You underestimated him a few moments ago. Now they come and that's when they attack him. Qasim, the son of Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam. Seeing this, Imam al-Hasan, because the mother could not come out of the tent, the mother is only looking at the reaction of Imam al-Hussein standing in front. All of a sudden, she sees Imam al-Hussein go pale and running towards Al-Qasim. What does the heart of a mother do? Seeing your young boy, seeing your son being massacred like that. A small boy being massacred by men with long beards, calling themselves Muslim, and they go out and they want to cut and dice a 10-year-old boy. What does the heart of a mother do? Imam al-Hussein gets to him and he removes him. Imam al-Hussein gets to him and he removes them and he carries him back. I ask you, O believer, what does the heart of a mother do seeing your child in that state? Ruhi lahul fida. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us children like Al-Qasim, inshallah, who will be devoted to their Islam and be devoted to their Imam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to Make us parents that can raise children like Al-Qasim, inshallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us all as we are, just to give us a fraction of the bravery and the valor that Al-Qasim had. Assalamu ala al-Husayn wa ala Ali ibn al-Husayn wa ala awlad al-Husayn وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have mercy on the deceased and to cure the diseased and to settle the uneased and to send to them the reward of Surah Al-Fatiha before in Salat ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.